Mia Rodriguez sat in the back corner of the classroom, her worn notebook open on the desk in front of her. The notebook had belonged to her older brother before he graduated, and some of his old notes were still visible under her fresh pencil marks. She didn't mind. Paper was expensive, and her family needed to save money wherever they could. The physics classroom at Lincoln High School was old. Paint peeled from the walls in several places, and 2 of the ceiling lights flickered constantly. Most students tried to sit near the windows where the natural light was better, but Mia had learned to sit in the back. It was easier that way. Less attention. Less trouble. Ms. Patricia Whitmore stood at the front of the room, writing an equation on the whiteboard. She was a tall woman with perfectly styled blonde hair and expensive clothes. She had been teaching at Lincoln High for 15 years, though everyone knew she had applied many times to transfer to schools in wealthier neighborhoods. Those applications had all been rejected. Now, Ms. Whitmore said, turning to face the class, "Can anyone tell me what happens to an object in orbit around Earth? What forces are acting on it?" Several hands went up. Mia looked at the equation on the board. She knew the answer. She had read about orbital mechanics in a library book just last week. The book had been old and the pages were yellow, but the information inside was fascinating. She had spent 3 hours reading it, completely losing track of time. Mia slowly raised her hand. Ms. Whitmore's eyes scanned the room. She pointed to Brandon, a boy in the front row whose father was a lawyer. "Brandon? Gravity?" Brandon said uncertainly. "Partially correct," Ms. Whitmore said, "but incomplete." "Anyone else?" Mia kept her hand up. Her arm was starting to hurt from holding it in the air. Ms. Whitmore looked directly at Mia. Her expression changed. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Yes, Mia?" she said, her voice flat. "The object is in freefall," Mia said quietly. "Gravity is pulling it toward Earth, but the object is also moving forward very fast. These 2 motions combine to create a curved path around the planet. The object keeps falling toward Earth, but also keeps missing it. That's an orbit." The classroom was silent for a moment. Several students turned to look at Mia with surprised expressions. Ms. Whitmore's jaw tightened. "That's a very rehearsed answer," she said coldly. "Did you memorize that from somewhere?" Mia felt her cheeks grow hot. "I read it in a book at the library," she admitted. "I see," Ms. Whitmore said. "Well, class, this is a perfect example of why memorization isn't the same as understanding. Anyone can repeat words from a book. Real learning requires comprehension." She turned back to the board. "The correct answer involves understanding centripetal force and gravitational attraction working in balance." But that was what Mia had said, just in simpler words. She wanted to argue, to explain, but she knew it wouldn't help. It never did. She lowered her eyes to her notebook and said nothing. The rest of the class continued like this. Whenever Mia tried to participate, Ms. Whitmore found a way to dismiss her contribution or make it seem less valuable than answers from other students. When Jason gave an incorrect answer about velocity, Ms. Whitmore said, "Good effort. You're on the right track." When Mia pointed out a small error in a calculation on the board, Ms. Whitmore snapped, "If you spent less time trying to catch mistakes and more time learning the basics, you might actually pass this class." Mia's current grade in physics was 87%. But Ms. Whitmore was right about one thing. Mia was struggling to keep that grade. Not because she didn't understand the material. She understood it better than almost anyone in the class. But Ms. Whitmore graded her essays and lab reports much harder than she graded other students' work. A paper that would earn Brandon an A- would earn Mia a C+, with red marks covering every page. When the bell finally rang, Mia quickly gathered her books. She wanted to leave before anyone could make comments. Some students were nice to her, but others had started to notice Ms. Whitmore's treatment and had joined in with their own jokes and remarks. "Mia, stay behind for a moment," Ms. Whitmore called out. Mia's stomach dropped. She stopped at the door and let the other students file past her. Soon the room was empty except for the 2 of them. Ms. Whitmore sat on the edge of her desk, arms crossed. She didn't invite Mia to sit down, so Mia stood near the door, clutching her books to her chest. "I want to talk to you about your future," Ms. Whitmore began. Her voice was calm, almost kind, which somehow made it worse. "I've been teaching for a long time, Mia. I've seen hundreds of students come through these doors, and I've learned to recognize which students have the foundation for advanced academics and which students would be better served by other paths. Mia didn't respond. She wasn't sure what to say. You're a hard worker, Ms. Whitmore continued. I can see that you try. But physics, chemistry, advanced mathematics, these subjects require a certain type of background. They require resources, private tutoring, educational experiences from childhood, students from your neighborhood, students from your economic background. They typically don't have these advantages. I learn from library books, Mia said softly, and free websites. I don't need private tutors. Ms. Whitmore smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. That's very admirable. But it's not realistic. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. I've taught students like you before, and they always struggle in college. The competition is too fierce. The material becomes too difficult, and then they drop out with debt and wasted time. Students like me? Mia repeated. Students from disadvantaged backgrounds, Ms. Whitmore said quickly. I'm not being cruel, Mia, I'm being honest. The kindest thing I can do is give you realistic expectations. You should consider vocational training. There are excellent programs for medical assistants, office administration, cosmetology, practical careers that don't require advanced degrees. Mia felt something cold settle in her chest. You think I'm unfit to learn physics? Ms. Whitmore stood up from the desk. I think you're unfit to compete at the highest levels of STEM education. There's a difference. You can certainly learn basic concepts, but top universities, competitive programs, research careers, those aren't realistic goals for someone in your situation. I'm trying to save you from heartbreak. I want to work for NASA, Mia said. The words came out before she could stop them. She had never told anyone at school about this dream. It felt too big, too impossible. But now, facing Ms. Whitmore's dismissive expression, she needed to say it out loud. I want to be an aerospace engineer. Ms. Whitmore actually laughed. It was a short, sharp sound. Mia, be serious. Do you know how many students apply to NASA internships? Do you know what kind of backgrounds they have? They come from families with engineers and scientists. They attend elite private schools. They have perfect test scores and dozens of extracurricular activities. You can barely afford new notebooks. Each word hit Mia like a physical blow. She felt tears building behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of this woman. I think you should seriously consider dropping this class, Ms. Whitmore said. Take general science instead. It's more appropriate for your skill level, and it won't hurt your GPA when you struggle with the advanced material. I have an 87%, Mia said. For now, Ms. Whitmore replied. The material only gets harder. I'm doing you a favor, Mia. I'm being honest when others would let you fail. Think about what I've said. She turned back to her desk, effectively dismissing Mia. Mia walked out of the classroom in a daze. The hallway was crowded with students moving between classes, but she barely saw them. Ms. Whitmore's words echoed in her head. Unfit to learn. Students like you. Not realistic. She made it to the bathroom before the tears finally came. She locked herself in a stall and cried silently, one hand pressed over her mouth to muffle any sound. She had worked so hard. She studied every night after her homework was done. She watched free educational videos online. She read every science book the library had, and it still wasn't enough. According to Ms. Whitmore, it would never be enough. After 10 minutes, Mia washed her face and looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were red, but her expression was determined. Ms. Whitmore was wrong. She had to be wrong. Mia didn't have money or connections or a perfect family background. But she had something else. She had curiosity. She had persistence. And she had dreams that were too big to abandon just because one bitter teacher said they were impossible. She would prove Ms. Whitmore wrong. Somehow she would find a way. Mia walked home from school that afternoon with her backpack weighing heavy on her shoulders. The straps were frayed and she had sewn them back together twice already. Inside were 5 textbooks, all borrowed from the school library because her family couldn't afford to buy them. Her apartment building was 20 minutes away on foot. The neighborhood was old and many of the buildings needed repairs. Some windows were boarded up. Graffiti covered several walls. But it was home and Mia knew most of her neighbors. They looked out for each other. She climbed 3 flights of stairs because the elevator had been broken for 2 months. The landlord kept promising to fix it. Mia didn't mind the stairs anymore. She had gotten used to them. Her mother was in the kitchen when Mia opened the door. Rosa Rodriguez was still wearing her cleaning company uniform, the blue polo shirt with her name embroidered on it. She worked the early morning shift at an office building downtown. then came home for a few hours before leaving for her evening job cleaning a medical clinic. "How was school, Mija?" her mother asked in Spanish. They usually spoke Spanish at home, though Mia's English was better than her mother's. "It was fine," Mia said automatically. She didn't want to tell her mother about Ms. Whitmore. Her mother worked so hard to provide for Mia and her two younger siblings. She didn't need more worries, but Rosa knew her daughter well. She looked up from the pot she was stirring and studied Mia's face. "What happened?" Mia tried to smile. "Nothing, Mama, just a long day." Rosa wiped her hands on a towel and walked over to Mia. She put both hands on Mia's shoulders and looked into her eyes. "Tell me," so Mia told her. About Ms. Whitmore's comments. About being called unfit to learn. About being told her dreams were unrealistic. By the end, fresh tears were running down her face. Rosa pulled Mia into a tight hug. "That teacher is wrong," she said firmly. "You are the smartest person I know. You understand things I could never understand. Do you know what I see when I look at you?" Mia shook her head against her mother's shoulder. "I see someone who reads college textbooks for fun. I see someone who explains science to her little brother so well that he loves learning. I see someone who will change the world." Rosa pulled back and held Mia's face in her hands. "That teacher, she is afraid. People like her, they want to keep smart young people in small boxes. They don't want you to dream big because your success shows their failure. You prove her wrong, Mija. You keep studying. You keep dreaming. And one day you will work for NASA, and she will see your name and know how wrong she was." Mia hugged her mother again. "Thank you, Mama." That evening, after her mother left for her second job, Mia sat at the small kitchen table to do her homework. Her younger brother Carlos and sister Elena were watching television in the living room. The apartment was small, just 2 bedrooms that the 5 of them shared. Mia had learned to study with noise in the background. She finished her homework quickly and then opened her laptop. It was an old model that the school had given to students who couldn't afford their own. The screen had a crack in one corner and the battery only lasted an hour, but it worked. It connected her to the internet, and the internet connected her to the entire world. Mia had a routine. Every evening she spent an hour watching educational videos and reading articles about physics, astronomy, and space exploration. Tonight, she was browsing NASA's website when she saw something that made her sit up straight. It was an announcement. NASA was hosting a competition for high school students across the country. Students could submit proposals for solving real challenges in space exploration. The competition was called Future Engineers Solutions for Tomorrow. Mia clicked on the link and read every word carefully. The challenge was to design an innovative solution for one of 3 problems: water recycling on long space missions, growing food in zero gravity, or improving communication systems for deep space travel. The deadline was 3 weeks away. The prize was significant. The winner would receive a full scholarship to any university, a guaranteed summer internship at NASA, and a chance to see their design actually tested by NASA engineers. Even the finalists would receive smaller scholarships and recognition. Mia's heart was pounding. This was it. This was her chance to prove Ms. Whitmore wrong. This was her chance to show that students like her could compete with anyone. She read through all the requirements. The proposal needed to include detailed technical specifications, mathematical calculations, a prototype design or simulation, and an essay explaining the innovation and its potential impact. It was due in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Mia looked at the calendar on the wall. She had midterm exams in 2 weeks. She had her regular homework every night. She helped take care of her younger siblings while her mother worked. But she could do this. She had to do this. She chose the water recycling challenge. She had read about how astronauts on the International Space Station recycled their water, even turning their sweat and urine back into drinking water. It was efficient, but the current systems were heavy and used a lot of energy. There had to be a better way. Mia created a new folder on her laptop and titled it NASA Competition. Then she started researching. The next day at school, Mia couldn't focus on anything except the competition. During lunch, she sat in the library instead of the cafeteria, reading scientific papers on water filtration systems. The librarian, Mrs. Chen, noticed and came over. "What are you working on so intently?" she asked kindly. Mia explained about the NASA competition. Mrs. Chen's eyes lit up. "That's wonderful.
How can I help?"
Mrs. Chen helped Mia find more resources. She showed Mia how to access scientific journals through the library's database. She even gave Mia her personal library card so Mia could check out more books at once. "I believe in you," Mrs. Chen said simply. "Go prove everyone wrong." In physics class that day, Ms. Whitmore was teaching about fluid dynamics. Mia took notes furiously. She realized this information could help with her water recycling design. She thought about asking a question but decided against it. She would figure it out on her own. After school, Mia went straight to the public library instead of going home. It was a large, old building with high ceilings and thousands of books. This library had better resources than the school library. More computers, more books, more quiet spaces to work. Mia found a corner desk on the second floor and spread out her materials. She had a notebook, her laptop, and a stack of books about water purification, chemistry, and engineering. She worked for 3 hours straight, only stopping when the librarian announced the library would close in 15 minutes. This became her new routine. Every day after school, she went to the public library and worked until closing time. Then she walked home in the dark, did her regular homework quickly, and fell into bed exhausted. On weekends, she arrived when the library opened in the morning and stayed until evening. Her design slowly took shape. She was creating a water recycling system that used less energy by taking advantage of temperature differences already present in spacecraft. It combined several existing technologies in a new way and added some innovations of her own. The math was complicated, but Mia worked through each equation carefully, checking and rechecking her calculations. One afternoon, about a week into the project, someone sat down at the desk next to hers. It was Jake, a boy from her physics class. He was one of the few students who was always nice to her. "Hey, Mia," he said quietly, respecting the library's silence. "What are you working on?" Mia hesitated. She hadn't told anyone at school about the competition except Mrs. Chen. She was afraid of being mocked. But Jake seemed genuinely curious. "I'm entering a NASA competition," she said, "designing a water recycling system for space stations." Jake's eyes widened. "That's amazing. Can I see?" Mia showed him her sketches and explained her concept. Jake listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions. He didn't have much technical knowledge to contribute, but his enthusiasm was encouraging. "This is really impressive," Jake said. "You could actually win this thing." "I don't know," Mia said. "Students from all over the country are entering. They probably go to better schools, have better resources. But do they have your brain?" Jake asked. "Do they work as hard as you?" "I've seen you, Mia. You understand this stuff better than anyone in our class. Better than Ms. Whitmore, honestly." Mia smiled. It was the first genuine smile she'd had in days. "Can I help somehow?" Jake offered. "I'm not good at physics, but I'm decent at research. And I can bring you snacks while you work." "Brain food?" Mia laughed. "Okay, actually that would be great." So Jake became her assistant. He helped her find sources, printed documents when she needed them, and kept her company during the long library sessions. He brought granola bars and fruit from his house. His support meant more than Mia could express. But at school, things with Ms. Whitmore only got worse. The teacher seemed determined to break Mia's spirit. She made pointed comments during class about students who aimed too high and failed. She gave Mia a C- on a lab report that was nearly perfect, citing poor presentation. Even though Mia had followed all the guidelines, she called on Mia only to ask the most difficult questions, then acted disappointed when Mia didn't know the answer immediately. Other students started to notice. A few defended Mia, pointing out that Ms. Whitmore was being unfair, but that only made things worse. Ms. Whitmore became icier and more dismissive. Mia endured it all. Every time Ms. Whitmore made a cutting comment, Mia thought about the NASA competition. Every time she wanted to quit, she thought about her mother's words. "You prove her wrong, Mija." 2 weeks into the project, Mia hit a major problem. Her design required a specific type of membrane filter that didn't quite exist yet. She needed to calculate whether her theoretical design would actually work, and the math was beyond what she had learned in high school. She spent an entire Saturday struggling with the calculations. Nothing was working out. She felt like crying from frustration. Maybe Ms. Whitmore was right. Maybe she didn't have the background for this. Maybe she was just a poor girl from a bad neighborhood pretending to be something she wasn't. Jake found her with her head in her hands, surrounded by crumpled papers covered in failed calculations. "What's wrong?" he asked. Mia explained the problem. Jake looked at her notes, understanding maybe 10% of what he was seeing. Can you ask someone for help? A teacher? A professor? Who would help me? Mia said bitterly. I don't know any professors. My mom cleans offices. My dad left when I was 5. I don't have connections. What about the internet? Jake suggested. There are forums where scientists help students. I've seen them. It was so simple that Mia almost laughed. Why hadn't she thought of that? She found an online forum for physics students and posted her question, explaining her project and the specific calculation she couldn't solve. Then she waited, not expecting much. The next morning, Mia woke up early and checked the forum on her phone. She couldn't believe what she saw. 3 different people had responded to her question. One was a graduate student in chemical engineering. Another was a retired NASA engineer. The third was a professor from MIT. They had all taken time to help her. The retired NASA engineer had even worked through the entire calculation step by step, explaining each part in simple terms. He ended his message with, "This is a brilliant project for a high school student. Keep pushing forward. The world needs more young engineers like you." Mia read the message 3 times. Then she saved it in a special folder on her phone. On days when Ms. Whitmore's words felt too heavy, she would read it again and remember that not everyone thought she was unfit to learn. Using the help from the forum, Mia solved her calculation problem. Her design was working. The numbers made sense. She spent the next few days refining her proposal and creating detailed diagrams. At school, Ms. Whitmore announced a new project. It was worth 40% of the semester grade, she explained. Students would work in pairs to build a simple electric motor and write a report explaining how it worked. I've already assigned the partners, Ms. Whitmore said. She began reading names. Mia waited nervously. She was usually paired with other strong students, which was fine. They divided the work and rarely talked. Mia Rodriguez and Travis Bennett, Ms. Whitmore announced. Mia's heart sank. Travis was the student who slept through most classes. He never turned in homework. He had failed the last 2 tests. Everyone knew he didn't care about school. Ms. Whitmore was looking directly at Mia with a small smile on her face. Some partnerships are destined to fail, she said quietly but loud enough for Mia to hear. It's a good lesson in the real world. Mia felt anger burn in her chest. Ms. Whitmore was trying to tank her grade. She was deliberately setting Mia up for failure. After class, Mia approached Travis. He was tall and always wore the same hoodie. He avoided eye contact and mumbled when he spoke. Look, Mia said, I know you probably don't care about this project, but I need a good grade. Can we at least try? Travis shrugged. Whatever. I'm going to fail anyway. Why do you say that? Mia asked. Because I always fail. Travis said it like it was a simple fact, like saying the sky was blue. They agreed to meet at the library after school the next day. Mia didn't have high hopes, but she had to try. Travis showed up 20 minutes late. Mia had already gathered materials and sketched out a basic motor design. She showed Travis what they needed to do. I don't get it, Travis said immediately. Which part? Mia asked patiently. All of it. I don't understand any of this physics stuff. It's like everyone else knows a language I don't speak. Mia looked at him carefully. He didn't seem lazy or defiant. He seemed frustrated. Maybe even embarrassed. Okay, Mia said. Let's start from the beginning. Forget everything Ms. Whitmore taught. I'll explain it my way. She pulled out a piece of paper and drew simple diagrams. She explained electricity like water flowing through pipes. She explained magnetism using everyday examples. She took complex ideas and broke them down into pieces small enough to understand. Something changed in Travis's expression. He started asking questions. Good questions. Mia realized he wasn't stupid at all. He had just never had anyone explain things in a way his brain could process. They worked together for 2 hours. By the end, Travis understood the basic concept of how an electric motor worked. He was excited, leaning forward, suggesting ideas. Can we meet again tomorrow? He asked. I want to actually build this thing. Mia smiled. Yeah, definitely. Over the next week, Mia split her time between the motor project with Travis and her NASA competition proposal. It was exhausting. She barely slept. Her mother noticed the dark circles under her eyes and worried, but Mia promised she was okay. Working with Travis turned out to be more rewarding than Mia expected. She discovered that he learned best by doing, not by reading or listening to lectures. So they built the motor first, experimenting and making mistakes. Then Travis understood the theory because he had seen it work with his own hands. "Why can't school be like this?" Travis asked one day. They were soldering wires and the motor had just successfully spun for the first time. "Why do teachers just talk at us and expect us to magically understand?" "I don't know," Mia said. "But you're not stupid, Travis. You just learn differently." Travis was quiet for a moment. "No one's ever said that to me before. Teachers always act like I'm just not trying hard enough." "Ms. Whitmore thinks the same thing about me," Mia admitted. "She thinks I'm too poor and from the wrong neighborhood to learn physics." Travis looked shocked. "That's messed up. You're literally the smartest person in that class." "She doesn't think so." They continued working in comfortable silence. Mia realized she had made a real friend. Not just a project partner. Someone who understood what it felt like to be underestimated. Meanwhile, Mia was putting the final touches on her NASA proposal. She had written and rewritten her essay 5 times. Her technical specifications were complete. Her diagrams were detailed and professional looking. Now she just needed to create a simulation to demonstrate how her system would work. This was the hardest part. Mia had taught herself basic coding from free online tutorials, but creating a working simulation was beyond her current skills. She spent hours watching videos and reading documentation for a free 3D modeling program. Jake helped where he could, but this was work Mia had to do alone. She stayed at the library until closing time every single night. The librarians knew her by name now. They saved her a quiet desk in the corner and brought her coffee from the staff room. 3 days before the deadline, Mia's simulation finally worked. She could input different variables and watch her water recycling system function in a virtual environment. It wasn't perfect, but it was functional. It demonstrated her concept. She had done it. Her proposal was complete. Mia uploaded all her files to the NASA website at 2 in the morning, sitting in her dark bedroom with her siblings sleeping across the room. Her hands trembled as she clicked the final submit button. The website confirmed her entry had been received. She sat back and stared at the screen. She had done everything she could. Now she just had to wait. The next day at school, Mia felt like she was floating. The lack of sleep and the relief of finishing the proposal combined into a strange, giddy feeling. She knew she probably wouldn't win. Hundreds or maybe thousands of students had entered. Many of them had resources she could only dream of. But she had tried. She had given it everything she had. In physics class, Ms. Whitmore returned their last quiz. She placed Mia's quiz face down on her desk with more force than necessary. Mia turned it over and saw a big red 74% at the top. She looked through the quiz. Ms. Whitmore had marked several answers wrong that were actually correct. On one problem, Mia had used a slightly different method than what was taught in class. But her answer was right. Ms. Whitmore had marked it wrong anyway with a note. "Use the correct method." Mia raised her hand. "Ms. Whitmore, I think there's a mistake on my quiz." Ms. Whitmore looked up with a cold expression. "I don't make mistakes, Mia. I've been teaching physics for 15 years. "But this answer is correct," Mia said, pointing to problem 7. "I used a different formula, but it's mathematically equivalent. The instructions said to use the method taught in class," Ms. Whitmore replied sharply. "Following directions is part of being a good student, something you apparently still struggle with." Several students looked uncomfortable. One girl named Sarah spoke up. "Ms. Whitmore, Mia's answer is right, though. Shouldn't that count for something?" "Sarah, I don't need you to tell me how to grade," Ms. Whitmore snapped. "Everyone, eyes on your own work." Mia put her quiz away and said nothing. She was too tired to fight. But Jake, sitting 2 desks away, caught her eye and mouthed, "That's not fair." At lunch, Mia sat with Jake and Travis. They had become a small friend group. Travis was doing better in physics now. Not great, but passing. He was proud of it. "Ms. Whitmore really has it out for you," Travis said. Having heard about the quiz incident from Jake, "She's had it out for me all year," Mia said. "You should report her," Sarah said. She had joined their table, apparently still upset about what happened in class. "Like to the principal or something." "What she's doing isn't okay." "Who would believe me?" Mia asked. "I'm just a student. She's been teaching here forever." "We'd back you up," Sarah said. "I've been in her class for 4 months and I've seen how she treats you." "It's different from everyone else," Jake and Travis nodded in agreement. "Maybe," Mia said. "But right now I just want to survive this semester." That afternoon, Mia and Travis presented their electric motor project to the class. Their motor worked perfectly. Their report was thorough and well-written. Travis, who usually never spoke in class, explained their design with confidence. Mia had coached him, but the words were his own. Ms. Whitmore watched with a sour expression. When they finished, she said, "Adequate work. You'll receive your grades next week." "Adequate?" Travis said under his breath as they sat down. "That thing is perfect." The following week, Ms. Whitmore returned their project grades. Travis got a B+, Mia got a B-. The written comments on Mia's report were harsh and picky, criticizing tiny details that had nothing to do with whether they understood the physics. Travis was furious. "This is ridiculous. You did most of the work. You taught me everything. How is your grade lower than mine?" "It's fine," Mia said, though it hurt. A B- on a project worth 40% of her grade meant her semester average would drop significantly. She might not even get an A in the class. The first time ever. "It's not fine," Travis insisted. "I'm going to say something." "Please don't," Mia said. "You'll just make her mad and she'll take it out on both of us." But Travis was already walking to the front of the room. "Ms. Whitmore, can I ask a question about our grades?" Ms. Whitmore looked up from her desk. "What is it, Travis?" "Why is Mia's grade lower than mine?" She explained everything to me. She did most of the technical work. "I don't understand how that's fair." The classroom went quiet. Everyone was watching. Ms. Whitmore's face flushed red. "Grades are confidential, Travis, and I don't appreciate you questioning my professional judgment. Return to your seat, but I don't now, Travis, or you'll both receive detention." Travis walked back to his desk, shaking his head. Mia appreciated him standing up for her, but it wouldn't change anything. Nothing ever did. That evening, Mia tried to forget about school by losing herself in a new library book about Mars exploration. She had given up expecting anything to come from the NASA competition. The deadline had been 5 days ago. The website said they would announce finalists in 3 weeks. It seemed like forever. She pushed thoughts of Ms. Whitmore out of her mind. She pushed away her disappointment about the project grade. She focused on the dream. NASA. Space. A future where she was valued for her mind instead of dismissed because of her background. One day, she whispered to herself in the quiet library, "One day I'll prove all of them wrong." 3 weeks passed slowly. Mia tried not to think about the NASA competition, but it was impossible. Every morning she woke up hoping this would be the day she heard something. Every evening she went to bed disappointed. School continued as usual. Ms. Whitmore's attitude toward Mia hadn't changed. If anything, it had gotten worse. She seemed to take pleasure in calling on Mia with difficult questions, then acting disappointed when Mia's answers weren't perfect. She continued to grade Mia's work more harshly than other students' work. But something else was changing. Other students were noticing. Sarah had become vocal about defending Mia in class. Jake and Travis always sat near her, a silent show of support. Even students who had never spoken to Mia before were starting to give Ms. Whitmore strange looks when she made her cutting comments. It was a Tuesday morning when everything changed. Mia woke up earlier than usual. She couldn't fall back asleep, so she grabbed her phone to check the time. It was 5:30 in the morning. She opened her email without thinking much about it. There were a few messages from the school about an upcoming assembly, a notification from the library about a book she had on hold, and then, near the top of the inbox, a message from NASA. Mia's heart stopped. The subject line read, "NASA Future Engineers Competition. Update on your submission." Her hand started shaking. She almost couldn't click on it. Part of her was terrified it would be a rejection. Just a polite thank you for participating message. She clicked. The email opened. Mia read the first line and gasped so loudly that her sister Elena stirred in the bed across the room. "Dear Mia Rodriguez, congratulations. We are pleased to inform you that your proposal for the NASA Future Engineers Competition has been selected as one of 15 finalists from across the nation." Mia had to read it 3 times to believe it was real. Finalist, she was a finalist. Out of everyone who had entered, NASA had chosen her proposal as one of the 15 best. The email continued. She was invited to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas for a week-long workshop. She would meet the other finalists. She would present her design to a panel of NASA engineers and scientists. She would tour the facilities and meet astronauts. All expenses would be paid by NASA. including travel, accommodation, and meals. The final presentations would happen at the end of the week. The judges would select 3 winners. First place would receive a full scholarship to any university in the country and a guaranteed paid internship at NASA every summer until graduation. Second and third place would receive partial scholarships in recognition, but even just being a finalist came with a $10,000 scholarship. $10,000. That was more money than Mia had ever imagined having. That could pay for her first year of community college, or books and supplies for 4 years, or help her mother so she didn't have to work 2 jobs. Mia jumped out of bed, unable to contain herself. She ran to her mother's room and knocked on the door. Mama, wake up! Rosa opened the door, alarmed. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm a finalist. Mia practically screamed, NASA! I'm a finalist for NASA. She showed her mother the email. Rosa read it slowly, her eyes getting wider and wider. Then she started crying. She pulled Mia into a tight hug and they both cried together, happy tears streaming down their faces. I told you, Rosa whispered. I told you that you would prove them wrong. The commotion woke up Carlos and Elena. Soon the whole family was awake and celebrating in the small living room. Carlos kept saying, my sister is going to NASA, over and over. Elena wanted to know if Mia would meet any astronauts. Mia couldn't stop smiling. Her face hurt from smiling. This was real. This was actually happening. She had to tell someone at school. She thought about telling Jake first, or maybe Mrs. Chen, the librarian. But then she had another idea. She would tell the principal. Mia got ready for school in a daze. She wore her best clothes, a simple blue dress that her mother had bought her for 8th grade graduation. It was a little small now, but it was still the nicest thing she owned. At school, she went straight to the main office. The secretary, Ms. Johnson, looked up with a smile. Good morning, Mia. Do you need something? I need to speak with Principal Chen, Mia said. Is he available? He's in his office. Let me check if he has a moment. Ms. Johnson called through to the principal's office. After a brief conversation, she nodded at Mia. Go ahead in, dear. Principal Chen was a kind man in his 50s who had been at Lincoln High for just 2 years. He had started several new programs to help students, including a food pantry and a scholarship application workshop. Students liked him because he actually seemed to care. Good morning, Mia, he said warmly. Please sit down. What can I do for you? Mia sat in one of the chairs across from his desk. She pulled out her phone and opened the email from NASA. I wanted to show you something. She handed him the phone. Principal Chen read the email and his expression transformed. His eyes went wide, then his whole face lit up with joy. Mia, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. He stood up from his desk and shook her hand enthusiastically. Do you realize what an achievement this is? Do you know how competitive this program is? The email said there were thousands of entries, Mia said, feeling overwhelmed by his excitement. This is the kind of achievement we need to celebrate, Principal Chen said. He was pacing now, full of energy. This reflects so well on you, on our school, on our entire community. We need to honor this properly. May I make copies of this email? Yes, of course, Mia said. When do you leave for Houston? He asked. 2 weeks from Friday. I'll miss 3 days of school. Don't worry about that. We'll work with your teachers to make sure you don't fall behind. This is far more important than a few days of classes. He paused, thinking, I want to hold a special assembly. Tomorrow, if possible. The entire school should know about your achievement. Would you be comfortable with that? Mia hesitated. Part of her wanted to hide, to keep this private. But another part of her, a stronger part, wanted everyone to know. She wanted Ms. Whitmore to know. Yes, she said firmly. I'd like that. Principal Chen smiled. Excellent. I'll arrange everything. Mia, I am so proud of you. This school is proud of you. The rest of the day passed in a blur, Mia told Jake, Travis, and Sarah at lunch. They screamed so loud in the cafeteria that the lunch monitor came over to see what was wrong. When they explained, even the lunch monitor started clapping. Word spread quickly through the school. By the end of the day, students Mia had never spoken to were congratulating her in the hallways. Teachers she didn't have classes with stopped her to shake her hand. Ms. Whitmore said nothing. In physics class, when other students brought up the NASA competition, she simply said, We have a lot of material to cover today. Let's focus on our work. But Mia saw the way Ms. Whitmore's jaw clenched, the way her hands gripped her pen a little too tightly. She knew And she was not happy. The next morning, the entire school gathered in the auditorium for an unexpected assembly. Students filed in confused, wondering what was happening. Teachers stood along the walls. Principal Chen waited on the stage with a microphone. When everyone was settled, he began to speak. "Good morning, everyone. I've called this assembly to celebrate one of our own. One of our students has achieved something truly remarkable, something that brings great honor to Lincoln High School." He paused for effect. Mia was sitting in the second row, her heart pounding. Mia Rodriguez, a sophomore in our physics program, recently entered a national NASA competition. This competition drew thousands of entries from students all across the country. These students came from every kind of school you can imagine. Private schools, magnet schools, schools with enormous science budgets and the latest equipment. Principal Chen's voice grew stronger. Mia competed against all of them, and NASA has selected her proposal as one of just 15 finalists in the entire nation. She will be traveling to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston to present her design to actual NASA engineers and astronauts. The auditorium erupted in cheers. Students were standing, clapping, shouting Mia's name. Mia felt tears in her eyes. She looked around and saw Jake and Travis cheering louder than anyone. She saw Sarah wiping her eyes. She saw teachers smiling and applauding. Then she looked at the back of the auditorium where the physics teachers were standing. Ms. Whitmore's face was pale. Her arms were crossed tightly across her chest. She wasn't clapping. "Mia, please come up here," Principal Chen said. On shaky legs, Mia walked up the steps to the stage. The applause got louder. Principal Chen handed her the microphone. Mia had no idea what to say. She hadn't prepared a speech. She looked out at the sea of faces at her entire school, and suddenly the words came. "Thank you," she said. Her voice echoed through the auditorium. "I never thought something like this could happen to me. I'm just a regular student from this neighborhood. I don't come from a wealthy family. I don't have private tutors or expensive equipment." She paused, thinking about how to say what she wanted to say without directly calling out Ms. Whitmore. Sometimes people tell you that you can't do something. They tell you that your dreams are too big. They tell you that students from places like our neighborhood can't compete with students from other schools. They tell you that you don't have the right background or the right resources. The auditorium was completely silent now. Everyone was listening. "But those people are wrong," Mia said, her voice getting stronger. "We have everything we need right here. We have smart teachers who care about us. We have a library full of knowledge. We have the internet connecting us to information from around the world. And most importantly, we have each other. My friends helped me with this project. They supported me when I wanted to give up. They believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." She looked directly at Jake, Travis, and Sarah. "Thank you for that." Then she looked at Principal Chen. "And thank you for celebrating this with me, for showing everyone that students from Lincoln High can do amazing things." The applause was deafening. Students were chanting her name. "Mia, Mia, Mia!" Principal Chen took the microphone back. "Let's hear it one more time for Mia Rodriguez, NASA finalist." The cheering continued as Mia walked back to her seat. Students reached out to high-five her as she passed. Her face hurt from smiling. After the assembly, students surrounded Mia in the hallway. Everyone wanted to talk to her, to congratulate her, to ask questions about NASA. She felt like a celebrity. It was overwhelming, but wonderful. Then she saw Ms. Whitmore walking down the hallway toward her classroom. Their eyes met for just a moment. Ms. Whitmore's expression was cold, unreadable. Then she turned and walked away. Jake appeared at Mia's side. "Did you see her face during the assembly? She looked like she swallowed a lemon." "I saw," Mia said quietly. "You did it," Travis said, joining them. "You actually proved her wrong." "Not yet," Mia said. "I haven't won anything yet. I'm just a finalist." "Doesn't matter," Sarah said. "You've already won. You showed everyone what you can do. You showed everyone that she was wrong about you." Mia knew Sarah was right. Even if she didn't win the competition, even if she came in last place among the 15 finalists, she had already proven Ms. Whitmore's words false. She wasn't unfit to learn. She was fit enough to compete with the best students in the country. That afternoon in physics class, the atmosphere was strange. Ms. Whitmore taught the lesson as if nothing had happened. She didn't mention NASA. She didn't mention the assembly. She called on Mia once, asking her a question about electromagnetic induction. Mia answered correctly, explaining the concept clearly and completely. "Adequate," Ms. Whitmore said. and moved on to another student. But the other students noticed. After class, several of them confronted Ms. Whitmore. "That wasn't adequate," Sarah said boldly. "That was a perfect answer. Why can't you just admit that Mia is good at physics?" "Sarah, return to your seat," Ms. Whitmore said coldly. "No," Sarah said. "I'm tired of watching you treat her unfairly." "We all are. She's going to NASA and you can't even congratulate her." Other students voiced their agreement. Ms. Whitmore's face turned red. "All of you, leave my classroom immediately. I will not tolerate this disrespect." The students left, but as they filed out, Travis turned back and said, "It's not disrespect to tell the truth. You were wrong about Mia. Everyone knows it now." Mia waited until everyone else had gone, then approached Ms. Whitmore's desk. The teacher was organizing papers with sharp, angry movements. "Ms. Whitmore," Mia said quietly. The teacher looked up. "What do you want?" "I just wanted to say thank you," Mia said. Ms. Whitmore looked confused. "For what?" "For motivating me," Mia said. "When you told me I was unfit to learn, when you said my dreams were unrealistic, it hurt. It really hurt. But it also made me determined to prove you wrong. If you had been nice to me, maybe I wouldn't have worked as hard. Maybe I wouldn't have entered the competition." Ms. Whitmore's expression was hard to read. Surprise, anger, shame all mixed together. "So thank you," Mia continued. "You pushed me to be better, even if that wasn't your intention." She turned and walked out of the classroom, leaving Ms. Whitmore sitting alone at her desk. Mia felt lighter than she had in months. The weight of Ms. Whitmore's judgment was finally lifting. It didn't matter anymore what that one teacher thought. The world was bigger than this classroom. NASA thought Mia was worth investing in. That was all that mattered. The 2 weeks before the trip to Houston passed in a strange blur. Mia felt like she was living in two different worlds. At school, she was suddenly visible in a way she had never been before. Students she had never spoken to knew her name. Teachers smiled at her in the hallways. The local newspaper even sent a reporter to interview her. But in physics class, things had become complicated. Ms. Whitmore no longer made cutting comments about Mia. In fact, she barely spoke to Mia at all. She called on her less frequently than before. When she did call on Mia, she accepted her answers with a simple nod and moved on quickly. It was as if she was trying to pretend Mia didn't exist. The other students noticed. Sarah started keeping a log of how many times Ms. Whitmore called on each student. The data showed clearly that Mia was being called on far less than anyone else in the class, even students who rarely raised their hands. "This is still discrimination," Sarah told Mia at lunch one day. "She's just being more subtle about it now." "At least she's not insulting me anymore," Mia said. But Sarah was right. The silence felt almost worse than the criticism. It felt like Ms. Whitmore was trying to erase her. 3 days after the assembly, Principal Chen called Mia to his office again. When she arrived, she was surprised to find 2 other adults in the room with him. "Mia, please sit down," Principal Chen said warmly. "These are Ms. Patricia Walker and Mr. David Kim from the school board. They wanted to meet you." Mia shook hands with both of them, feeling nervous. "We've been hearing wonderful things about you," Ms. Walker said. She was an older woman with kind eyes. "Your achievement is remarkable. We wanted to congratulate you in person." "Thank you," Mia said. "We also wanted to ask you some questions if you don't mind," Mr. Kim said. "It's come to our attention that you may have experienced some difficulties in your physics class. Some students have expressed concerns about how you've been treated." Mia's stomach tightened. She looked at Principal Chen, who gave her an encouraging nod. "Several students filed a formal complaint," Principal Chen explained gently, "about Ms. Whitmore's treatment of you and other students. The school board is required to investigate." Mia didn't know what to say. She thought about Ms. Whitmore telling her she was unfit to learn. She thought about the unfair grades, the dismissive comments, the deliberate pairing with Travis to make her fail. "You won't get in trouble for telling the truth," Ms. Walker said softly. "We need to know what happened," so Mia told them everything. She started with the first day of class and Ms. Whitmore's immediate coldness toward her. She described the conversation after class when Ms. Whitmore had called her unfit to learn. She explained about the graded assignments that came back with harsh comments and lower scores than identical work from other students. She talked about the project with Travis and how Ms. Whitmore had deliberately paired them to sabotage her grade. Principal Chen looked more upset with each detail. Ms. Walker took careful notes. Mr. Kim asked clarifying questions. Did she ever make comments about your race or economic background? Mr. Kim asked. Mia thought carefully. She never said anything explicitly racist, but she kept saying things like students like you and students from your neighborhood. She told me I should focus on vocational training instead of college. She said I didn't have the right background for advanced academics. Ms. Walker and Mr. Kim exchanged glances. You've been very brave to tell us this, Ms. Walker said. I want you to know that this is not acceptable behavior from a teacher. Every student deserves to be treated with respect and given equal opportunities to learn. What will happen to Ms. Whitmore? Mia asked. We can't discuss that with you, Mr. Kim said, but I can tell you that we take these complaints very seriously. There will be a full investigation. After the meeting, Principal Chen walked Mia back to the main office. How are you feeling? He asked. Scared, Mia admitted. What if she finds out I talked to them? What if she makes things worse? She won't, Principal Chen promised. She's been placed on administrative leave while the investigation happens. There will be a substitute teacher for the rest of the semester. Mia felt a wave of relief so strong it almost made her dizzy. Really? Really? You won't have to deal with her anymore. None of your classmates will. That afternoon, a substitute teacher appeared in physics class. Her name was Mrs. Lopez, and she was a retired engineer who sometimes filled in at local schools. She was warm and enthusiastic, and she called on students equally. She praised good answers and gently corrected wrong ones without making anyone feel stupid. The difference was immediate and obvious. Students who had been quiet all semester started raising their hands. Travis, who usually slouched in his seat trying to be invisible, actually asked a question. The atmosphere in the classroom completely changed. At the end of class, several students gathered around Mia. Did you report her? Sarah asked bluntly. I didn't file the complaint, Mia said. But the school board asked me questions and I answered honestly. Good, Sarah said firmly. She shouldn't be allowed to treat students the way she treated you. Other students nodded in agreement. One boy named Marcus said, She told me I should drop out and get a GED. Said college was a waste of money for students like me. I almost listened to her. A girl named Keisha added, She told me I was only good at memorization, not real thinking. I started believing her. As students shared their stories, Mia realized she wasn't the only one Ms. Whitmore had hurt. There were others, mostly students of color and students from low-income families. Ms. Whitmore had been crushing dreams for years. At least she can't hurt anyone anymore, Travis said. The rest of the week felt lighter. Mrs. Lopez was a good teacher who actually seemed to enjoy teaching. Mia's grades started to improve immediately as her work was finally being graded fairly. But Mia couldn't focus entirely on school. The trip to NASA was only days away. She had to prepare her presentation. NASA had sent detailed guidelines about what the judges would be looking for. She had to be ready to answer technical questions about her design. She had to practice speaking in front of people. Jake, Travis, and Sarah helped her rehearse. They set up a mock presentation in the library and took turns asking her questions. Mrs. Chen, the librarian, even gave Mia feedback on her speaking style. Don't apologize for your ideas, Mrs. Chen advised. You have nothing to apologize for. Speak with confidence. Mia practiced in front of the mirror at home. She practiced on the walk to school. She practiced in her head during other classes. By the time Friday arrived, she had her presentation memorized. Her mother took the day off work to take Mia to the airport. It was Mia's first time flying, and she was terrified and excited in equal measure. The whole family came to see her off. Carlos and Elena made her a good luck card decorated with drawings of rockets and planets. Make us proud, her mother said, hugging her tightly at the security checkpoint. I'll try, Mia promised. You already have, her mother replied. The flight to Houston was incredible. Mia had a window seat and spent the entire journey staring at the clouds and the ground far below. She thought about how astronauts saw the Earth from even higher up, from space itself. Maybe one day she would see that view. At the Houston airport, a NASA representative was waiting with a sign that had her name on it. She was a young woman named Jennifer, who worked in NASA's education department. Welcome to Houston, Mia, Jennifer said cheerfully. How was your flight? Amazing, Mia said honestly. Jennifer drove her to a hotel near Johnson Space Center where all the finalists were staying. In the lobby, Mia saw other teenagers checking in with their families. They all looked confident and well-dressed. Many of them had parents who seemed comfortable and wealthy. Mia felt suddenly self-conscious about her worn suitcase and simple clothes. But then a boy about her age smiled at her. "Are you one of the finalists?" "Yes," Mia said. "I'm Mia. I'm Raj," he said. "From California. What's your project about?" They started talking about their designs. Raj had created a food-growing system for space stations. Another finalist named Emma had designed a new type of solar panel. As more finalists gathered in the lobby, Mia relaxed. These were her people. They all loved science and space exploration. They all had ideas and dreams. That evening, NASA hosted a welcome dinner for all the finalists and their families. Mia was the only finalist who had come alone, without parents. For a moment, she felt that familiar sting of being different, of not quite fitting in. Then Jennifer sat down next to her. "Your family couldn't make it." "My mom had to work," Mia explained. "And we couldn't afford plane tickets for everyone." "That must have been a hard choice," Jennifer said sympathetically. "She wanted me to have this opportunity," Mia said. "That's what matters." During dinner, the director of NASA's education program gave a speech. "You 15 young people represent the best and brightest minds in this country," he said. "You come from different backgrounds, different schools, different circumstances. But you all share one thing: the courage to dream big and the determination to turn those dreams into reality." He talked about how NASA valued diverse perspectives and different ways of thinking. He said that the best solutions came from teams of people with varied experiences. "Some of you come from families of engineers," he continued. "Some of you are the first in your family to pursue science. Some of you had access to state-of-the-art equipment. Some of you built your projects with creativity and resourcefulness. All of these paths are valid. All of these perspectives are valuable." Mia felt tears prick her eyes. For the first time in months, she felt like her background wasn't a disadvantage. It was just a different starting point. After dinner, the finalists were given a schedule for the week. Tomorrow, they would tour the facilities. They would meet astronauts and engineers. They would attend workshops on advanced topics. The presentations would happen on Friday, the last day. Until then, they were free to explore, learn, and soak in the experience. That night, Mia lay in her hotel bed, unable to sleep. Through the window, she could see the lights of Houston. Somewhere out there was NASA's Johnson Space Center, where people worked every day to push the boundaries of human knowledge and exploration. She thought about Ms. Whitmore. She wondered if the teacher knew where Mia was right now. She wondered if Ms. Whitmore felt any regret about the things she had said. Then Mia decided she didn't care. Ms. Whitmore's opinion didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that Mia was here. She had earned this. No one could take it away from her. She picked up her phone and sent a group text to Jake, Travis, and Sarah. "I'm in Houston. NASA is real. This is really happening. Thank you for believing in me." Responses came back immediately. "Jake, you earned this. Show them what Lincoln High is made of." Travis, "You're going to crush it." "You're the smartest person I know." Sarah, "Make history. We're all rooting for you." Mia smiled and put her phone on the nightstand. Tomorrow would be an amazing day. She closed her eyes and finally slept, dreaming of stars and spacecraft and a future full of infinite possibilities. The week at NASA transformed Mia's life in ways she never imagined possible. On Monday morning, the 15 finalists gathered in the lobby, wearing visitor badges with their names and NASA Future Engineers Finalist printed on them. Mia kept touching hers to make sure it was real. A tour guide named Marcus, who was an actual aerospace engineer, led them through the Johnson Space Center. They saw Mission Control, where people had guided astronauts to the moon and still monitored space station operations. They saw the astronaut training facility with its huge swimming pool used to simulate weightlessness. They visited the space vehicle mock-up facility, where life-size models of spacecraft sat like giants in a massive warehouse. Mia took pictures of everything, sending them to her family and friends. Her mother responded with heart emojis and pride. Jake sent back messages like, "This is so cool," in all capital letters. They met an astronaut named Dr. Sarah Chen, who had spent 6 months on the International Space Station. She talked about drinking recycled water in space, which made Mia's project feel suddenly very real and important. "Every drop of water is precious up there," Dr. Chen said. "Improving our recycling systems means we can go farther and stay longer. Your generation will be the ones who figure out how to get us to Mars." That afternoon, they attended a workshop on advanced propulsion systems. The presenter, a lead engineer named Dr. James Wilson, explained concepts that went far beyond high school physics. But Mia followed along, asking questions, taking notes. Some of the other finalists looked lost, but several were keeping up, their faces bright with excitement. During a break, Raj found Mia looking at a display about the Mars rovers. "This place is incredible," he said. "I've wanted to work here since I was 8 years old." "Me too," Mia admitted. "Well, since I was 10. I saw a documentary about the Hubble telescope and I just knew." "What school are you going to?" Raj asked. "If you win the scholarship?" "I don't know yet," Mia said. "I've been researching universities with good aerospace engineering programs. MIT would be amazing, but even with the scholarship, I don't know if I could afford it." "You should apply anyway," Raj said. "You're smart enough. Everyone here is smart enough. That's why we were chosen." Tuesday brought more workshops and tours. They learned about life support systems, spacecraft design, and planetary science. They visited the Lunar Sample Laboratory where moon rocks were stored. They met engineers who worked on the James Webb Space Telescope. Every person they met was encouraging and excited to talk to the finalists. No one asked about their family backgrounds or what schools they attended. They only cared about ideas and passion for space exploration. On Wednesday, Dr. Wilson pulled Mia aside after a workshop. "I reviewed all the finalist projects last night," he said. "Your water recycling system is impressive. Really impressive. Where did you learn about thermodynamic cycling?" "Library books," Mia said, "and online research. And I asked questions on science forums when I got stuck." Dr. Wilson smiled. "Self-taught. That's remarkable. You know, some of the best engineers I know are self-taught. They have a different way of thinking, a resourcefulness that comes from having to figure things out on their own." "My physics teacher didn't think so," Mia said before she could stop herself. "Your physics teacher was wrong," Dr. Wilson said simply. "I've been doing this for 20 years. I know talent when I see it. Keep pushing forward, Mia. The world needs engineers like you." Wednesday evening, NASA hosted a dinner where each finalist could have a private conversation with a mentor. Mia was paired with Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, a Latina engineer who had worked on Mars rover missions. "I grew up in a neighborhood a lot like yours," Dr. Rodriguez told Mia. "My family didn't have much money. I was the first person in my family to go to college. My high school counselor told me I should be a secretary instead of an engineer." Mia's eyes widened. "What did you do?" "I proved her wrong," Dr. Rodriguez said with a smile. "Just like you're proving your teacher wrong. It's harder when you're starting from behind. You have to work twice as hard for half the recognition, but it's worth it. And once you're here, once you're doing the work, nobody cares where you came from. They only care about what you can contribute." "Did it get easier?" Mia asked. "Yes and no," Dr. Rodriguez said honestly. "You'll still face people who underestimate you. You'll still have to prove yourself more than some of your peers, but you'll also find allies and mentors who want to help. And you'll find that your perspective, your experience of overcoming obstacles, makes you a better engineer. You think creatively because you've had to. You don't give up because you've faced harder challenges than a difficult equation." They talked for over an hour. Dr. Rodriguez gave Mia her email address and told her to stay in touch. "I want to know where you end up," she said. "I have a feeling you're going to do great things." Thursday was dedicated to preparing for the final presentations. The finalists were given a conference room where they could practice and refine their pitches. NASA staff members offered feedback and advice. Mia practiced her presentation a dozen times. She timed it carefully to make sure it fit within the 15-minute limit. She prepared answers for every question she could imagine the judges asking. Emma, the finalist with the solar panel design, listened to Mia's practice run and gave feedback. "You're explaining it too technically," she said. "Remember, some of the judges might not be experts in water systems. Make it clearer." Mia adjusted her presentation using simpler language and better analogies. By evening, she felt as ready as she would ever be. That night, she video called her family. Her mother, brother, and sister crowded around the phone screen. "How is it?" Carlos asked. "Have you seen any rockets?" "Not yet," Mia said. "But tomorrow after the presentations, we're touring the rocket park." "Are you nervous about tomorrow?" her mother asked. Terrified, Mia admitted, but also excited. "Even if I don't win, Mom, this whole week has been amazing. I've learned so much. I've met people who believe in me. I always believed in you, Rosa said softly. I know, and that's what got me here. Friday morning arrived too quickly. The presentations were scheduled throughout the day, with Mia presenting in the afternoon. She woke up early, too nervous to eat much breakfast. She put on the one professional outfit she owned, a simple black pants and white blouse that her mother had helped her pick out at a thrift store. The presentations were held in a large conference room. The judges sat at a long table at the front, 5 NASA engineers and scientists, including Dr. Wilson and Dr. Rodriguez. Audience members filled the rest of the room, including the other finalists, NASA staff, and some local reporters. Mia watched the morning presentations. Everyone was impressive. A boy named Thomas had designed a robot for exploring caves on Mars. A girl named Maya had created a new type of radiation shielding. Each presentation was polished and professional. When lunch came, Mia could barely eat. Her stomach was in knots. Raj sat with her and tried to distract her with jokes, but Mia's mind was already running through her presentation. Finally, at 2 o'clock, it was her turn. Mia walked to the front of the room, connected her laptop to the projector, and took a deep breath. She looked at the judges. She looked at the audience. She thought about everyone who had helped her get here. Her mother working 2 jobs, Jake and Travis supporting her, Mrs. Chen giving her library access, even Ms. Whitmore in her own twisted way motivating her to prove everyone wrong. Good afternoon, Mia began. Her voice was steady, stronger than she expected. My name is Mia Rodriguez, and I'm here to present a solution for one of the biggest challenges facing long-duration space missions: water recycling. She clicked to her first slide and began explaining her design. The words flowed naturally. She had practiced so many times that she didn't need to think about what came next. She showed her diagrams, explained her calculations, demonstrated her simulation. The judges listened intently, taking notes. When Mia finished her prepared presentation, they asked questions. Dr. Wilson asked about the energy requirements. Mia had anticipated this and provided detailed calculations, showing how her system used 30% less energy than current systems. Another judge asked about maintenance and replacement parts. Mia explained her modular design that allowed components to be easily swapped out. Dr. Rodriguez asked about scaling the system for different crew sizes. Mia showed alternative configurations for crews of 4, 6, and 8 people. For every question, Mia had an answer. Not always a perfect answer, but a thoughtful one backed by research and logic. After 25 minutes of questions, the lead judge smiled. Thank you, Mia. That was an excellent presentation. Mia returned to her seat feeling like she was floating. She had done it. She had presented her design to NASA engineers and she hadn't fallen apart. Whatever happened next, she had done her best. The rest of the presentations continued through the afternoon. When the last finalist finished, the lead judge announced that they would deliberate and announce the winners at a ceremony that evening. The finalists were given 3 hours of free time. Some went back to the hotel to rest. Others explored the visitor center. Mia found a quiet bench outside and called her mother. How did it go? Rosa asked immediately. I think it went well, Mia said. I answered all their questions. They seemed interested in my design. But everyone else was so good, Mom, I don't know if I'll win. You've already won, her mother said firmly. You're at NASA. You proved that girl from our neighborhood can compete with anyone. No matter what happens tonight, you've won. The evening ceremony was held in the same conference room, now rearranged with chairs facing a small stage. All 15 finalists sat in the front row. Mia's hands were shaking. The lead judge, Dr. Patricia Mills, took the stage. First, I want to say that choosing winners was incredibly difficult. Every single project we saw this week was outstanding. Every single one of you should be proud. She announced that all 15 finalists would receive the $10,000 scholarship and recognition in NASA's annual report. Then she began announcing the winners, starting with third place. Third place, with a scholarship of $25,000 and a 2-year summer internship, goes to Maya Patel for her radiation shielding design. Maya jumped up with a scream of joy. The room applauded. Mia clapped until her hands hurt, genuinely happy for Maya even though it meant there were only 2 spots left. Second place, with a full scholarship to any university and a 4-year summer internship at NASA, goes to Dr. Mills paused for dramatic effect. Mia Rodriguez for her innovative water recycling system. For a moment, Mia couldn't process what she had heard. Second place. She had won second place. She was going to get a full scholarship. She could go to any university. She would spend every summer until graduation working at NASA. She stood up in a daze. People were applauding. Raj was hugging her. Dr. Rodriguez was smiling proudly from her seat. Mia walked to the stage and received a plaque and a certificate. Dr. Mills shook her hand firmly. "Your design showed remarkable creativity and practical thinking," she said. "We're excited to have you in the NASA family." The ceremony continued. A boy named David won first place for his advanced propulsion system design. Mia applauded for him, feeling no jealousy. Second place was more than she had ever dreamed possible. After the ceremony, people crowded around to congratulate her. Dr. Wilson told her that her design might actually be tested in upcoming space station upgrades. Dr. Rodriguez gave her a hug and whispered, "I told you. Great things." That night, Mia called her family from her hotel room. They screamed so loud she had to hold the phone away from her ear. Her mother was crying again, happy tears that seemed to flow every time they talked about NASA. "MIT," Mia said. "I'm going to apply to MIT. With this scholarship, I can afford it." "You're going to be an aerospace engineer," Carlos said with certainty. "Yes," Mia said, smiling. "I am." Before going to sleep, Mia took out her phone and composed a careful email. She addressed it to Principal Chen at Lincoln High School. She thanked him for supporting her. She told him about winning second place. And then she wrote, "Please tell Mrs. Lopez that I'm grateful for her teaching in these final weeks. Please also tell Ms. Whitmore that I hope she learns from this experience. I hope she stops telling students they're unfit to learn. Everyone deserves a chance to dream." When Mia returned to Lincoln High the following Monday, there was a banner hanging in the main hallway. "Congratulations to Mia Rodriguez, NASA Future Engineer's second place winner." An assembly was called again, this time to celebrate her victory. Principal Chen read excerpts from NASA's official announcement about her design. The mayor of the city even attended and gave a speech about how Mia represented the best of their community. Mrs. Lopez, the substitute physics teacher, gave Mia a standing ovation. The entire school joined in. Mia saw tears on many faces. She realized her success meant something to people. It showed students like her that their dreams weren't impossible. That evening, the local news aired a story about Mia. They interviewed her at the school with the banner visible behind her. The reporter asked how it felt to go from being told she was unfit to learn to being recognized by NASA. "It feels like justice," Mia said simply. "It feels like proof that one person's opinion doesn't define your future. Teachers have power, but they don't have the power to stop you if you refuse to be stopped." The school board completed their investigation into Ms. Whitmore. Mia never learned all the details, but Principal Chen told her that Ms. Whitmore had been officially dismissed from her position. The investigation had uncovered a pattern of discriminatory behavior, spanning several years and affecting numerous students. "She won't be teaching in this district again," Principal Chen said. "And we're implementing new training for all teachers about implicit bias and supporting students from diverse backgrounds." Mia felt a mix of emotions about this. She wasn't happy that someone lost their job, but she was glad that other students wouldn't face the same treatment she had. 3 months later, an envelope arrived from MIT. Mia's hands shook as she opened it. The letter inside began with, "We are pleased to offer you admission to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology." She had been accepted to MIT. With her NASA scholarship, she could afford it. Mia's mother framed the acceptance letter and hung it in the living room next to Mia's NASA finalist certificate and photos from Houston. It became a kind of shrine to what was possible with determination and hard work. In May, at Lincoln High School's end-of-year awards ceremony, Mia received the Principal's Award for Academic Excellence. She also received the new STEM Achievement Award created in her honor. Future students who showed exceptional promise in science and engineering would receive this award each year. During her acceptance speech, Mia looked out at the audience of students, teachers, and families. She saw Jake, Travis, and Sarah in the third row cheering for her. She saw Mrs. Chen dabbing her eyes with a tissue. She saw Mrs. Lopez smiling proudly. "A year ago, I was told I was unfit to learn," Mia said. I was told my dreams were unrealistic. I was told that students from neighborhoods like ours couldn't compete with students from wealthier areas or better-funded schools. Every word hurt. Every comment made me doubt myself. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But those words also made me stronger. They made me determined to prove that they were wrong, not just for me, but for every student who's ever been told they're not good enough. We are good enough. We are smart enough. We deserve the same opportunities as anyone else. The applause was thunderous. Mia continued when it quieted. I want to thank everyone who believed in me. My mother, who worked 2 jobs to support our family and still found time to encourage my dreams. My friends who helped me when I wanted to give up. The teachers who saw my potential instead of my limitations. And this school which celebrated my success instead of hiding it. Mia looked directly at the section where sophomores were sitting. To every student here, especially those who have been told they can't do something, don't believe them. Work hard, find people who support you. Use every resource available. The library is free. The internet is full of knowledge. Your potential is not determined by your zip code or your bank account. It's determined by your willingness to keep trying even when people tell you to quit. She held up her award. This is proof that you can do amazing things. I'm just a regular girl from this neighborhood. If I can present my work to NASA, so can you. If I can get into MIT, so can you. Don't let anyone tell you that you're unfit to learn. You're fit to do anything you set your mind to. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. After graduation, during the summer before starting at MIT, Mia returned to NASA as an intern. She worked in the Life Support Systems department, assisting engineers with real projects. Her supervisor told her that her water recycling design was being seriously considered for implementation on future space missions. On her last day of the internship, Dr. Rodriguez took her to lunch. You know what I love most about your story? She asked. What? Mia said. You didn't just succeed for yourself. You changed things for the students who come after you. Lincoln High School is different now because of you. They created that STEM program. They're training teachers differently. Students believe in themselves more. That's legacy, Mia. That's impact. Mia thought about this. She thought about Travis, who was now passing all his classes and thinking about college. She thought about Sarah, who had become vocal about educational equity. She thought about all the students at Lincoln High who might now dare to dream bigger because they saw her succeed. I want to come back, Mia said suddenly. After MIT, after I'm an engineer. I want to come back to schools like Lincoln High and talk to students. I want to be the person I needed when I was struggling. You will, Dr. Rodriguez said with certainty. And you'll inspire hundreds of others just like you inspired your classmates. That fall, Mia moved to Massachusetts to start at MIT. Her mother, siblings Jake, Travis, and Sarah all helped her move into her dorm room. It was tiny and shared with a roommate, but to Mia it felt like a palace. It felt like the beginning of everything. On her first day of classes, sitting in Introduction to Aerospace Engineering, Mia thought about Ms. Whitmore. She wondered if the teacher had seen the news coverage. She wondered if Ms. Whitmore ever thought about the student she had tried so hard to discourage. Then Mia pushed those thoughts away. Ms. Whitmore didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the future spread out before her, full of possibility and promise. The professor began the lecture. Welcome to Aerospace Engineering. By the end of this semester, you'll understand the fundamental principles that let humans explore space. You'll learn how rockets escape Earth's gravity, how orbits work, how spacecraft are designed and built. Mia opened her notebook and began taking notes. She was exactly where she was meant to be. She was studying what she loved. She was surrounded by people who valued her mind and respected her potential. She was proof that one bitter teacher's opinion couldn't destroy a determined student's dreams. She was proof that being told you're unfit to learn means nothing if you refuse to believe it. Mia Rodriguez was going to be an aerospace engineer. She was going to work for NASA. She was going to help humanity explore the stars. And no one ever again would tell her she wasn't good enough. She had already proven them all wrong.